Hey. Speak Easy podcast listeners, how are you guys doing? Sylvie Spells here, your voice manager. I unmute the voice of women who are ready to speak up about what has kept her silent for way too long. Man, this series has been absolutely amazing. If you missed any of them, make sure that you go back and check them out, share them out, and join the conversation over in the World Voice League community on Facebook. We want to hear how they resonated with you. I, I, I just got to be honest and say every guy that showed up was a heavy hitter. Like there were no lightweights that showed up, but I absolutely appreciate each and every one of them and the things that they're doing within their own communities across the world, virtually. Man, they continue to show up and show out in different areas, different perspectives. That was one of the most amazing things, is that each of them gave you something different. Like no two people gave you the same information. So with that being said, I'm excited because we have another heavyweight coming on. Hey, Brad, how are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
Doing great. Super excited to have you on the platform. So before we jump into today's topic, let the Speak Easy podcast listeners know a little bit about you.
My name is Brad Butler II. I'm a motivational speaker and author, mentor. Done a bit of coaching work. I mainly work with students and athletes. So to make it brief, I help educators to increase the graduation rate for students and athletes. And the reason why I'm so passionate about that avenue is because when I was in school, I struggled as far as being in special ed classes. And so I had a lot of adversity that I needed to overcome. So because of that, I don't want the students to go through this thing alone and feel like there's no one else that understands them and that it's not possible for them to achieve certain things. So I want to make sure that you know how people normally say, oh man, I see the light at the end of the tunnel. I don't want them to see the light at the end of the tunnel. I want them to be the light at the end of the tunnel.
Oh, perfect place to start. So my first question is, what is a dad story or a father story that has impacted your business?
Oh man. Okay. For some people, they might not think that it connects, but I'll make sure I bring it all together. So, um, I had broken up with my high school sweetheart, or I should say, she broke up with me. Uh, my high school sweetheart broke my heart, right? She broke up with me, didn't have a real reason, explanation as to why it needed to happen, but it did. So I'm, just going through this and I'm tore up about it. I don't want to eat. I don't want to sleep. I can't, I just can't do nothing right. I'm just all over the place. My mom, she's trying to console me. My sister, she's saying, you better get your mind right because she probably out there with some other people having a good time. So get your life together. And my father never said anything to me about it until one day. We were actually driving to Wendy's. It's crazy. We just regular drive, going to get something to eat. Going to Wendy's to get some food for my grandparents. And I'm at the drive-through and I'm, paying for the food and everything. We're waiting for them to hand us the food. And my father turned to me and he said, listen, I know you're all heartbroken and all this stuff about your ex-girlfriend breaking up with you and all that, but I'm gonna need you to snap out of it. That's it. That was it. Most people don't realize the impact that a father has on a son's life. My father wasn't a man of many words. He wasn't the type to actually say "I love you" all the time. That was very rare. That didn't come until later on after he had a situation where he thought he was going to die. So that's when the "I love you" started. But before that, wasn't a whole bunch of hugs and a whole bunch of I love yous and stuff like that. You didn't get too many compliments all the time. So for him to say something along those lines, I knew I was messing up. Like I knew there were areas that I needed to step up. I needed to figure this out. And I needed to get it together. And because of that, it allowed me to understand that, Brad, it doesn't matter what's going on with inside you. Like if you have any personal issues that's going on, none of that matters. You still have to produce. You still have to do what you're supposed to do. And if you cannot do that, if you cannot overcome your feelings at all times, then you are going to be in lack at all times. There's always going to be something that comes up and is going to throw you off your path, and you're never going to get to where you're supposed to be.
Okay, see how I told you all heavy hitters? Okay, so with that being said, which is really significant because I think especially with what you do. I know that, like I said, we're working with the youth, working with athletes. That's significant. Like, that's powerful, because if they can't get through the internal battle, if they can't get through the household battle, then I can't be on the field. I can't be on the court doing anything. And then in life, if I don't take care of the internal battle, if I don't take care of the home, then my job is going to suffer. The rest of my family is going to suffer. My finances is going to suffer. And so we're kind of in this weird space right now because, man, everybody's going through that same mental moments with being in home and in quarantine, with seniors not being able to walk and have prom. And what would you say is that one thing that, you would say, okay, I know you need to have these set of things, but I need you to start here.
As you're saying, as it pertains to like the youth
mental piece
person.
of it. The mental
Okay.
piece of it.
The mental piece is the most important thing. Now, here's the issue. People get so caught up on the reward. They're so focused on the reward that at any sign of there not being a celebration or them not possibly getting the reward, then they start to pull back. Then they start to feel like, oh, well, all this wasn't worth it. Like, no, you have to fall in love with the process. No, I'm so in love with the process, the grind, the work. Like, it's almost like I've been around my wife and she'll say, oh, you did this, you made this happen. Like, I'll get a check or a contract, a contract will go through. And she's like, oh, you did it, this. And then I'm like, yeah, but I'm supposed to do that. Like, I put the work in, I put the time in. And when you fall in love with the process and you master the process, you master the grind, you master the art of actually executing, oh, you know that there's going to be a reward on the other end of it. Like, there's an ROI for it. There's a return on investment. Like, like you reap what you sow. Like, it's not possible for you to put all the effort, all the time, your blood, sweat, and tears into something and you not get something that comes back from it. It's just not possible. That is like, not to get biblical, it says it in the Bible. Like, that's law. Like, that's not a theory, that's law. And it works in a positive way and it works in a negative way. If you put those seeds out there that are going to reap a negative harvest, then that's what you're going to get. And if you put the seeds out there that are going to reap a positive harvest, that's exactly what you're going to get. So my thing is, people get so stuck on the reward or what they think the success is going to look like for them in their life. But when they get something different and their gift takes them in a different direction, then they throw it off. They're thrown off track. Like, oh, this isn't what my life is supposed to be like. It wasn't supposed to look like this. No, that's your gift. That's what you're supposed to be doing. Or no one said it was going to be easy. Like, no one said it was going to look like what you thought it was going to look like. This is just what it is.
That speaks volumes. Man, there's adults that needed to hear that. There's adults that needed to hear that, because I think even when we look at the education system, especially early on, that's what we're taught, is to look for the kindergarten graduation, the fifth grade graduation. That was our mile markers. And it's not until we get into adulthood that we're taught, yeah, you had those mile markers, but just because you didn't hit that mile marker, it doesn't mean that you're not going to hit another mile marker in a different direction. Like, it doesn't mean that you're still not on this journey. The detour does not mean that you quit. And unfortunately, we're in a time where that's what people think. The detour is, oh, I failed at that. Oh, they told me no. The contract didn't go through. Oh, I didn't make the team. And then we're like, oh, so now what? Okay, so now you figure out what you need to do in order to either make the team or go in a different direction, but you don't just stop. And so, Bray, I want you to share with them, have you ever had that moment where you literally felt like you was just about to stop? What did that feel like for you, and how did you get past that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if anybody, if you are working, as a solopreneur, entrepreneur, if you're working, you're still working and you're doing your entrepreneur work on the side, you haven't been doing it long enough unless you've experienced three things. And that's if you wanted to quit, if you wanted to curse, and the last thing is quit if you wanted to curse somebody out, or if you want, is one more thing that I know happens a lot. Quit, curse somebody out, and the last thing was cry. That was it. That was it. If you haven't wanted to quit, curse somebody out, or cry, you ain't been working. Yeah, you ain't been working on your business long enough. And like it's gonna happen. Like you're gonna have that moment where it just feels like the weight of the world is on your shoulders and nothing that you're doing is working. Like I've had times where I knew I pretty much mastered my gift of speaking and storytelling and giving story and principle. And I had my story down to a science. I could tell you front, back, left, right. We can do all day long, however you want to do it. You want me to speak for a keynote? You want me to do a workshop? Whatever you want me to do, I can do it. And I just felt like if I'm gifted, why aren't I seeing success? Like, why are people like rocking with me? Why won't they? Why am I not getting the contract? Why are other people, getting opportunities I feel like I should be getting? Like, and it wasn't like you have to get past that point of mental fatigue. It's mental. See, like what people don't understand is that your brain is a muscle, just like your arms and your legs and your abs. Like you go to the gym and you work those other parts of your body out, but you don't work out your mind. So as soon as something goes wrong, you shut down. You go into a dark place. No, you have to work your mind out too to be like, okay, I have to stay in a pot. Like as soon as this darkness starts to come up and I start to feel like it's not going to work, like this never going to happen for me, I have to put myself in a positive place. I'm constantly listening to something positive, something to uplift my spirit, something to keep me in the right state of mind, because I don't know when something negative is going to come my way, and something always is. It's something that's always around the corner. Someone told me a long time ago, like you're always in the midst of a storm. Either you're in the beginning of a storm, you're in the middle of a storm, or you're coming out of a storm. But there's always a storm. It just depends on what part of the storm you're in. And don't think for 1 second, just because you're in one part of the storm right now, that you're not eventually going to get to another part of it. Like, so if you get stuck in that spot of saying, it's just never going to work, you're constantly talking negative to yourself, then that's what you're going to get. The only way that you dig yourself up out of that hole is you have to constantly keep a positive mindset. You got to keep positive people around you. I don't allow nothing negative around me at all, because it's so easy to make that shift. And you can go from being the happiest person in the world where you're like, yo, this is going to work. I have such a great idea. And you get around that one person that just, oh, well, have you thought of this? That could, this could go wrong. Shut up. Anybody ask you? Anybody ask you that? As you come over here with all that,
right?
I'm in a good mood.
Take that to the left. Take that to the left.
Yeah, I'm on cloud 9 right now. You come over here with that negativity. I don't want. Now, if you come in with constructive criticism, if you're coming with actually saying like, I'm concerned about you and I want the best for you, like my wife does that. Like she's the yin to my yang. I have all these lofty ideas and I'm creative and all that stuff. She'll come and say, hey, have you thought of this? How will you be able to make this work with this? And how does it apply to X, Y, and Z? It doesn't make me feel like it's not going to work. It makes me think of, okay, what's the strategy behind it, Brad? What's the blueprint behind it, Brad? Like, how are you going to advertise and market this? And what problems are you going to solve with this, Brad? Like, who going to pay? Like, come on. Like, you got to make sure that you're covering all your bases. So I'm thankful that I have people in my corner that are like, okay, Brad, you got all these ideas, or you have this and that, but you got to make sure that you realistic, you got to bring this thing together and make sure you got it to, close full circle. You don't want no gaps.
Yeah, you're taking it from the daydream to the, putting it on paper and making it a goal to, putting some action behind it to it showing up in your bank account. And I think that's, we get a false perception of what that journey really looks like. But yeah, the end result is you want it to show up in your bank account. That's the reality of it. Nobody wants to be a broke speaker, author, entrepreneur, baker, kickboxer, dancer. Nobody wants to be broke. There's no such thing as somebody saying, you know what, I want to volunteer and do this for the rest of my life. No, I don't think anybody wants to live off of ramen.
It's not, all that sodium ain't good for you.
It ain't good for you. So it's always a thing of, and this is one of the reasons, Speakeasy podcast listeners, that I brought on the speakers, authors, and coaches that we brought on, because these are men who can mentor you. These are men who you can reach out to and get on the phone with and talk to, because one of the biggest lies that we tell ourselves is that we got to do it alone.
Absolutely.
Biggest lie out there is that we got to do it alone, and you don't. When you find somebody that has a strategy, that has been where you were or where you are, that they're in a position where you're trying to go, that's when, and you don't have to copy what they're doing, but that's when you go link arms with them and say, okay, what's first? You know, what do I need to read? Who do I need to talk to? Who do I listen? And I'll ask you this question as well before we close it out. You know, you study to show yourself approved. And so with that being said, Brad, what was the last book that you read?
The last book that I actually completed, like I read all the way through, is I'm Surrounded by Idiots.
So many ways that I could take with everything going on right now. So many ways that we could take that. But
yeah. The reason being is it's a book based on personality assessments. So if you know about the DISC assessment, I just recently got certified to be able to teach it. I did that because it helped me. Like, I'm a testament to it. Like, I'm one of those people where I actually used it first, and then I have that much more of a testimony because I have the story behind it. Like, I use the DISC assessment as my premarital counseling.
That makes sense. See, somebody listening in going to say the DISC assessment. What's that? Y'all better reach out to Brad. Because not only have I taken it, I've had my children take it as well. And it definitely it helps in how you interact with people, how you react to scenarios and people, and then also how you look at your children.
Yeah.
Because I know I got 2 D's, a C, and an S, and I'm like, bruh, you can't raise all of them the same way.
Nah, not at all.
No, I'd have a head full of gray hair if I tried to raise them all the same way. It ain't gonna work. So, you guys, this has been an amazing episode. Brad, let them know how they can reach out to you and also where they can find you online.
Yeah, the best way to contact me, get in touch with me, all social media handles is BRAD Inspires, so B-RAD Inspires, or you can just type in Brad Butler II, 2 I's at the end, so Roman numeral 2s. So if you go on Google, just Brad Butler II, all my social media platforms will come up. So whether it's YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, it's all the same social media handle, or you can just type in Brad Butler II.
I absolutely love it. Speakeasy podcast listeners, I value you and the journey that you are on. And with that being said, make sure that you join the conversation, bit.ly/World Voice Community. Join the free Facebook group so we can know how this episode resonated with you. And with that being said, I'll Speak Pelzy here, your voice manager. Until next time, don't forget to press it out. See ya.